Hello? Hello?
Podcast Network Asia.
What's going on? This is Xavier Woods, a.k.a. Austin Creed.
I said give me a hell yeah!
Hey, this is Zeta Zane.
Hello, WWE Universe in the Philippines. This is Charlotte.
Talent is not sexually transmitted.
You need to go back to the drawing board because your game absolutely sucks!
Hey everyone, this is Jeff Cobb.
I'm Lewis Howley. I'm Sam Spoker. We are pretty deadly. Yes,
Hello, my name is Ilya Dragunov. This is Czar, the NXT UK champion, and you're listening to the Wrestling Podcast.
You are watching and listening to the longest-running weekly episodic Filipino wrestling podcast. This is the Wrestling Podcast. Stan C, Chino Liao, and Emile Nate joining us on tonight's live stream. Emile, our special guest host, is back kasi wala si Ro. Ro is actually at the launch party for Disney Plus, which is happening tonight as we speak. So, huge celebrations going on, and that's because Ro works for the agency that does the PR for Disney Plus, kaya siya nandun. Kaya rin wala tayong invites because we're not big enough. We're not yet on that level. Hindi pa tayo sponsored ng Disney Plus. But one day, we're manifesting it already. That day will come na they'll be giving us that sweet. So Disney Plus, I hope you're listening. I hope that you can send some of that sweet money our way. But let's say hi to Emile first. How's it going, Emile? Thanks for making time to join us on the live stream.
Yes, I'm doing great. Always a pleasure to be here on the podcast. Again, thank you so much. And let's get to some wrestling talk this week.
Sarap. All right. Of course, Chino and I here in Metro Manila. Emile all the way in Naga joining us for the live stream. Chino, how's your Thursday? Nakapag-subscribe ka na ba sa Disney Plus?
I am still holding out on that Disney Plus money, particularly because I thought I could use my US account here. Di pala pwede. Fun fact. Had to learn that the hard way. So, yeah, Mickey is still out to get us, guys. Mickey Mouse and the rest of the team are still preventing us from getting full access to that sweet Disney Plus content.
Sige, so we know that first-person UX review of Disney Plus is not going to come from Chino. We're going to get to that in just a short while, but first, let's tell you about how you can become a patron, just like Emile, as part of our growing Wrestling Podcast patron community. Chino, take it away.
Yes, so this weekend, we have AEW's Full Gear. And usually, for you to be able to watch Full Gear, you have to be very, very resourceful. Well, not if you are a wrestling podcast Patreon. For as low as $5 a month, you can join our growing Patreon community where we host live watch parties or post-live watch parties for all your favorite AEW, WWE, and sometimes may naliligaw ng New Japan Pro Wrestling events. All the wrestling you want, nandun yan sa ating Patreon subscription. Also, you get to be a part of our exclusive Discord server na hindi ako ang mod, obviously. Pero, andun lahat ng chismacks na gusto nyo about wrestling. We also talk about different things like TV, movie. Also, our seasonal, I should say, pasabays, saktong-sakto sa Black Friday. Black Friday happening at the very end of this month. If you want a shirt, if you want something from Suplex, WWE Shop, AEW Shop, whatever wrestling gear or merch that you need, pwede kayong sumama dun sa group buy namin. Makakatipid pa kayo. And all you really need to spend is as low as $5 a month. Also, Patreon doesn't charge you for the full month anymore. Pwede kang mag-subscribe in the middle of the month and you still get to maximize that pay. Dati kasi, kailangan mag-start ka from the very beginning of the month para masulit mo, para hindi ka mag-double charge. Yeah. But it doesn't work that way anymore. So now, you can maximize the $5 that you put in so that you can get as much wrestling content as you want. Meron din tayong free shirts Meron din tayong free mask care of the beautiful people of Podcast Network Asia. All you really have to do for all that information is right there, patreon.com/wrestling podcast.
Thanks, Chino. The link is also in the comment section thanks to Admin Jackie and in our ticker below. Clarify ko lang hindi kami nanlilibre ng shirts for Black Friday like yung sa WWE shop at yung sa Pro Wrestling Tees. KKB yan KKB yan. So yung lang, parang group buy lang para sulit yung shipping natin mula US papuntang Pinas, di ba? All right, let's get to some... Sorry.
Sorry, if I wasn't clear, hindi yun libre.
Oh, di yun libre Okay, let's get to some Disney Plus talk. Let's start with that kasi today is day 1 of Disney Plus in the Philippines.
It is official.
Actually, kahapon pa, live na siya if you were already downloading the app and if you were seeing people post on social media. So, Emile, as the person on the stream who's actually subscribed to Disney Plus, what are your impressions so far on the app and what's your WWE viewing experience been like?
All right, so first of all, sobrang mahirapan ako hanapin siya sa Play Store and App Store last night. Like at
Ay, sumbong na yan sa ahensya.
Like, sa TV, it was easy, pero sa phone Play Store, it was so difficult. I think I needed to wait until the morning just to install the app. So at first glance, the interface was great. It was beautiful, better than Netflix in my opinion. Much more simpler, much more easy, I guess, to navigate. And the first thing that I was really surprised is the shows that was in there. Like you'd expect the Marvels, the Disney movies to be there. And also some WWE, but I saw some shows that hindi ko pa siya natapos sa Netflix, but it was gone. Then I saw the shows there, so that's great. And also, when it comes to the WWE, I'm going to the WWE side
please.
of things now. Like, it was advertised as we will get some WWE content, but they didn't really specify which. So it was great. If you scan the WWE content, like if you're a first time, haven't subscribed yet to the network, you haven't tried the network yet, this would do, right? If you just want some WWE content programming, it's good. But if you're coming from the network and you're expecting the same thing to happen here with Disney Plus, maybe you will get disappointed. Again, it really depends on the perspective of the user. So, again, if you haven't tried the network yet, if you want to get into the WWE, maybe this is a good thing for you. But if you're a hardcore WWE fan who has subscribed to the network for years, maybe unsubscribing to the network to go to the Disney Plus isn't a good idea. As of right now.
I'm gonna jump off on that point, Emile, kasi yung hindi rin natin alam kung tatanggalin na ba yung access to WWE Network here in the Philippines. As of today, it's still accessible. In fact, very limited pa right now yung WWE catalog on Disney Plus. If you want all 15, 20,000 hours of content, the WWE Network is still your best bet. And if you want to backwatch old pay-per-views, old shows, like old WrestleManias, for example, lahat yan nasa WWE Network. So wala pa sa Disney Plus. Like the only Mania that's there is 38.
Yes.
So yun lang din yung nakita ko so far. So I don't know straight from the source kung anong mangyayari with Disney Plus and the premium live events, especially with Survivor Series WarGames happening next weekend. So I hope to find out sooner than later. And when we find out, we'll tell you guys. Kasi syempre, we want everyone to be able to catch the show din, di ba? So for now, wag muna tayong padalos-dalos, wag muna tayong mag-unsubscribe from the WWE Network in case you're thinking that Disney Plus automatically has everything from the WWE Network. Anything we missed, Emile?
Nakalimutan ko sabihin, I think people's expectations, there were really high expectations because of what happened to when Peacock started. Like, the network in the US shut down immediately when Peacock started. So, akala siguro ng maraming tao dito, same thing will happen. Disney Plus will start. We will have WWE content and, the network here, the network international feed here will be cut off. So yun lang. I think may people are kind of disappointed because of maybe they're expecting a little bit too much. But it's still great to have WWE on Disney Plus. Again, it's still a great thing.
Oh naman, it's a bigger platform, so it's definitely a good thing. All right, sticking with some news outside the ring, let's talk about Sasha Banks. There's an update on her this week. She's being promoted for Comic-Con Revolution happening May 20 to 21 next year. And yung billing niya is FKA, or formerly known as Sasha Banks WWE Superstar. So that raised some eyebrows from people on the internet. And then she posted a tweet yesterday na nagpapasalamat siya. And naturally, people are wondering, ito na ba yung parang announcement niya na wala na siya sa WWE? I don't know what's happening. So I'm gonna turn it over to Chino and ask what these cryptic signs imply to you.
It doesn't bode well for the persona of Sasha Banks that the person behind it now has the initials FKA before that name. It is, I hindi naman, pessimist ako eh. So when I see something like this happen, it naturally leads me to believe that Sasha Banks might be out of the door. Whatever deal that they were working on might actually not pull through. Sayang, kasi we all love Sasha here on the pod. We acknowledge her work time in and time out. And for whatever reason, creative, money, or otherwise, hindi sila magkasundo ng WWE ngayon. It might seem tenuous, this relationship that she has with the E. So parang hindi ako assured na we might see Sasha anytime soon in a WWE ring.
Magandang comment ni Lance. Actions speak louder than words and cryptic tweets. So ikaw, Emile, do these cryptic tweets and this billing na formerly known as Sasha Banks, does this tell you anything?
For me, it tells that maybe, she's thinking life after wrestling because she's doing Star Wars, she's doing this different Comic-Con conventions that she could make a ton of money without taking bumps, without hurting herself. I mean, maybe nasa point na siya ng life niya where she's thinking life after wrestling because like even though people have mixed opinions about Sasha's career in WWE, we can say that she's already a pretty successful wrestler from what she did in her 10 years or 10 or 9 years with WWE. So that's what I'm like getting at, like all like what she's doing. Maybe she's gonna wrestle in another promotion, but everything's still up in the air right now. Whether or not she will come back to the WWE, like I'm still gonna be a Sasha Banks fan, whether or not she comes back or she does all these things that makes her happy and makes her a lot of money. So, at the end of the day, all of us, we still love Sasha and her fans will still be behind her, whatever she wants to do in the future.
I mean, I hope so. Kasi diba, in pro wrestling, we're a very tribalistic group of fans. Yung tipong, hindi, you left wrestling, you left us, diba? So I hope hindi ganon. I hope that we actually put our money where our mouths are na, we're gonna support her even if she decides na she's done with this company or that company or done with the industry altogether. Ito, dadagdag ko lang dun sa balita. This was published by Cultaholic earlier. Na Sasha Banks has a company called Solnado Inc. And they registered several new trademarks which were filed by Mike Dawkins, who's known as the gimmick attorney or yung trademark lawyer in the pro wrestling circles. So the following terms were registered: statement maker, Mercedes Monet or money, Monet Talks or Money Talks, and Bank Monet or Money. So, yun yung mga na-register na trademark. And we have no idea what those things are, what those things are going to refer to. So whether or not Sasha Banks does return to WWE, these are the facts na niregister to mga trademark na to that Sasha tweeted and that she's being billed as FKA Sasha Banks. And then my take on this is we just got to keep waiting and seeing until something is officially announced.
This new, Stan, singit ko lang. And now that you brought that up, ngayon ko lang tinarinig yan. These new names that she's going by, Monet, Money, it's interesting kasi you only do that if you're switching feds.
Yeah.
Diba? You only do that if you're really planning to switch feds. Kasi ba't niya gagawin yun kung wala siyang balak umalis ng WWE? Right? Why would she secure her those rights like that in that manner? So, I mean, this might be a little out there, but we might get a surprise come Full Gear.
I mean, okay, as a counter argument to that, look at the Good Brothers, Sinegalos and Anderson. They've also been working on their trademarks, yung Talk and Shop and everything that they're doing. These trademarks that the Good Brothers have been filing, ginawa rin nila to before they got to WWE and after they left WWE the first time, and they came back. So I don't think it's necessarily parang a sign of things to come na porket nag-file ka ng trademark, matik, aalis ka na ng WWE.
Well, to be fair, dun sa Good Brothers, they've been working on that outside of the WWE. So siguro tinuloy na lang nila when they got signed by the Triple H regime. Diba? We all know that Vince isn't as open to outside or to third-party agreements as he was. Diba? So parang this might actually, you do have merit with your argument. However, I feel hindi mo gagawin yun paglilipat ka. It's not a thing you do, especially in the Triple H regime.
All right, so let's see what Sasha Banks' next move is. Sabi nga natin last week, diba, she was teasing something na parang 6 months na niyang hinihintay. That's right around this time, so it might be sooner than later. Our last bit of news from outside the ring is about CM Punk. So he was at this MMA event as a color commentator this past week. It's his first appearance since the throwdown in Chi-Town as he did color commentary for Cage Fury Fighting Championships, which is a regional MMA promotion that airs on UFC Fight Pass. So I don't really know what to say about this kasi I guess it's telling that the Elite have returned to TV this week and that CM Punk is instead making an appearance for MMA. I don't know. Emile, what do you think?
Honestly, looking at him in the couple of clips that I saw online, he looks healthy here. He doesn't look like the guy we saw in the media scrum a few months ago. He looks happy, he looks healthy, and honestly, maybe wrestling isn't really for him anymore. He's already done what he can do in professional wrestling, and maybe now is the time for him to walk away and move on. And he's already a made man. He's already rich. He's taken care of for the rest of his life. And as a CM Punk fan, all I can wish for him is to be happy with whatever it is he wants to do. But maybe wrestling is the last thing maybe he really wants to be in, because it brings out the negative side of him, I guess, the negative persona, this negative traits. Maybe for him, wrestling is the outlet for that. So maybe outside of wrestling, he's actually this really neat guy, pretty nice guy. So that's what I took away from CM Punk actually looking this good when he made his first public appearance last week.
Yeah, napaka-positive and napaka-optimistic ng outlook ni Emile. Chino, as the pessimist, what do you think?
Nah, man. Punk looks like a divorced single dad. He looks like he lost his house and his car to his wife. Tapos sinipa siya in the middle of the night. That's a vibe I'm getting from all of this. Because first of all, don't end the slide just yet. First of all, let's call attention to the fact that he's doing commentary for a company called, what's it called?
Cage Fight Fury Championship.
That sounds like a video game, man. You can't tell me that's a real thing. Cage Fury?
Fighting
that sounds like Iron. It's at this point to even have some semblance of relevancy in the world na pinatulan niya yung MMA analyst role in a tier probably MMA fight league, diba? He is a frustrated mixed martial artist. We know that from his career in the UFC. Akala niya he was made to be a middleweight in the UFC. Lost severely to both times in his MMA career. So now that he's back in that world, I don't know what level of credibility CM Punk brings. So, diba, parang hindi siya, he's there banking on his name, CM Punk. Which in the wrestling world, yes, may weight. Yes, may gravity, even with all the BS that was pulled in the last month. But here, it just smells of desperation for him.
Kayo, people in the comments, people in the chat, let us know what you think about CM Punk making his first public appearance since Brawl Out. Since we're talking about AEW pay-per-views, we're going to talk about Full Gear. That's coming up after the break. We're going to do our predictions. But first, here's a quick word from our other kapodcasts on Podcast Network Asia. Alright, no Kumu shoutouts kasi wala si Ro at walang kayang mag-load ng Kumu namin ngayon. So, we're gonna get right to it. We've got AEW Full Gear happening on Sunday, Manila time. It's a rare AEW pay-per-view that's actually happening over the weekend dito sa Pinas. So, how excited are you, Emile, na hindi mo kailangang mag-leave sa trabaho on Monday?
Yes, so glad this is on a Sunday. Yung work ko naman is night, so even if it's one day, that's fine. Pero it's much better if it's on a Sunday morning rather than a Monday morning. So, plus, nasasanay na tayo with Sunday pay-per-views because WWE has been doing it over the past year. And so, it's a good thing that AEW is also doing the same thing here with Full Gear.
Yeah, it's the biggest blessing, really, scheduling these things on a Saturday in the US. Ikaw, Chino, are you pretty happy about not having to deal with this stuff on a Monday, or are you relatively unaffected?
No, I mean, naturally, wala naman akong trabaho. So, like, I don't have a day job. So, naturally, hindi naman ako affected. However, this is the one good thing TK does for the company. He acknowledges that Saturday is pay-per-view day for most major combat sports, diba? You have your boxing, your UFCs. They all happen on a Saturday. If he wants to position his company to be in that level of performance, guess what he does? He does the pay-per-view on Saturday because it just makes sense. Diba? So marketing-wise, I can see why he decided to do this.
Happy din tong si Julian. Di raw ma-affect ang studies. That's good. After Full Gear, saka ka na mag-review for whatever exam that you have. All right, it's a full and bloated and stacked card as always because AEW 11 matches. Let's start with this one. The Elite making their grand return at Full Gear on pay-per-view talaga, and they're going to be challenging Death Triangle for the AEW World Trios Championships, titles that were stripped from the Elite as a result of the throwdown from Chi-Town, or the throwdown at Chi-Town. So, ikaw, Chino, who do you think is walking out Trios champions?
I'm going to say that as tone deaf as it might sound, they might give it to the Elite.
Bakit tone deaf?
It's because, kasi first of all, we all know what happened during Brawl Out. Kahit sabihin mong bit sila, they were still involved in the kerfuffle, right? Even if you say kinagat si Kenny Omega ng aso or the whoever bit him, right? They're still part of that, so there's still a stain in the air. And for me to give them titles, it's like it's rewarding them. It's like it's putting them on top, even if sabihin mo na-suspend sila. Diba? Parang sabihin mo, na-suspend ka pero may promotion ka pagbalik mo. Right? And so to me, it's a little tone deaf. However, the reason I say the Elite is walking away is because right now, sila na rin yung face ng company. Diba? We don't have Hangman Page. He's injured. Diba? John Moxley and MJF are going at it. And so the mid-card scene is a little bit sparse for me. So I feel like with the Elite walking away with the titles, it gives the mid-card scene of AEW something new to chase. You know, at least for the Trios division.
Ikaw, Emile, what do you think?
Okay, so I'm excited for this match now because when AEW started, they were basically the first couple of trios that was formed, the Elite and Death Triangle. So, and if I'm not mistaken, this is going to be the first time that they will actually face in the trios or not. So correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I think this is the first time. So I'm excited for this match, and I think it's obvious here that the Elite will win because honestly, the Death Triangle were just the placeholders because the Elite got suspended. I mean, the Elite were the first champions, and it feel like, and for me, it feels like the Elite were going to have this long reign, and it got cut short because of what happened. So Death Triangle, they did a tremendous job of holding down the fort before the Elite comes back, and now the Elite, they're now back, and they will reclaim what's theirs, and it's the Trios Championship.
Yeah, parang nobody is claiming that Death Triangle is going to win at Full Gear based on the comment section. Then I think that there's more to chew on if the Elite win. Kasi Death Triangle kind of has this inner conflict, diba, among themselves where Pac is really acting so heelish and it's already making Phoenix and Penta call him out on it, or at least more Phoenix than Penta. But I think they'll have more to go on if Death Triangle loses the championship because of Pac's antics. So let's see what happens there. Before we get to the next one, sagutin natin tong tanong ni Glendale. How hyped are you for Full Gear? Let's start with Emile.
Honestly, this is like the lowest, I guess, for me ever since AEW started. I don't know, maybe because of what happened in the last 2 months with AEW. They're just starting to pick things up. So at a 1 to 10, maybe like 5 or 6, maybe. And this is the lowest I've been since the company started. But I feel like my expectations will be blown away come Full Gear. But that's the level of hype that I'm in coming into Full Gear weekend.
So, Emile, you're saying your hype level for Full Gear is...
And that word is man.
Ikaw, Chino.
Yes.
I'm actually pretty hyped, particularly because of some of the matches that I'm paying close attention to. Our guy MJF, or my guy MJF, might walk away with the title here. Also, Saraya is back in action after so many years. So, for those reasons alone, I am pretty enthused by this pay-per-view. I don't know how enthused I will be after like the 4 or 5 hours it takes to watch the whole thing.
Yeah, kasi I'm sure may buy-in pa dyan.
Yeah, and so I'm sure masaya naman ako sa expectations ko. It's pretty elated from before.
All right. Let's talk about the next match that we're going to predict, and that is the TNT Championship. It was just announced earlier. There's going to be a 3-way match between Wardlow, the defending champion, taking on Samoa Joe, his now former tag team partner, and Powerhouse Hobbs. We talked about this on the podcast last week na medyo unnecessary turn yung ginawa ni Samoa Joe, and now here we are. We were expecting Wardlow and Hobbs to go at it, and now Joe is part of the picture. So, Chino, I know you're a huge Joe fan, but what do you think about this turn?
And we already talked about
this turn of events, sorry.
I'll say. Again, it feels like they're just giving Joe something to do because he is a valuable asset to the company. But I don't understand why he still has to be part of this feud. Kasi nga nandun na si Powerhouse Hobbs. He was being teased for it. That being said, I can't help but want to see Joe with both titles. I know it's a little selfish. Very WWE, but it might happen. There is a chance for it to happen. Diba? So that's my pick. I'm picking Samoa Joe.
Ikaw, Emile, what do you think of big meaty men slapping meat, and who are you calling for this one?
Yeah, so initially I thought this was going to be Wardlow versus Powerhouse Hobbs, but because of the events of what happened, this is now a triple threat. And a theory of mine, I think Joe is there to take the pin, because they don't want either Wardlow or Powerhouse Hobbs to take the pin on this one. So I feel like there's going to be a title switch. I feel like they're going to put the wagon on Powerhouse Hobbs, pinning Joe so that Wardlow can be protected. Because I think Wardlow can move on to other things. He has already done what he can do as a TNT champ. And I think it's time to give someone new the title reigns, and Joe's definitely there to take the pin. That's what I'm thinking. So that's why this is a triple threat. So I'm going Powerhouse Hobbs here to win the TNT Championship.
Interesting diversity of picks here. Chino picking Samoa Joe, Emile picking Hobbs, the comment section picking Wardlow, saying what's up, by the way, to friend of the podcast, George Pastor, who's due to be a dad anytime soon. Congratulations, my friend.
Congrats, George.
All right, let's get to our next match on the card, which is Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal taking on Darby Allin and Sting. You guys know how I feel about Darby Allin and how we're not really huge fans of Jay Lethal on the pod either. So honestly, for me, this is a match I can...
What is this TNA?
Sorry, what? Oh, God. I did not want to go there. I was going to say, and I would have rather just seen this on Rampage.
Yeah, like, come on, TK, what are you doing? Why is this taking up airtime in a pay-per-view that is already so bloated? This is I'm not even gonna pick. I don't know. That's the old man fight. I don't know.
Okay, Emile, you gotta take this one because Chino is forfeiting his pick due to apathy.
Honestly, this match, I don't think this match should have been on the pay-per-view cards sometime. And this match could have been easily just be on Dynamite or Rampage, honestly. But if I'm gonna pick someone to win, you gotta go with Sting and Darby. Like I don't know, I don't really care for this match at all. Like I like Sting, I like Darby, but I don't really care for this match. Maybe they will give Jeff Jarrett a wins because he's like the new guy in AEW, but I don't know. I'm gonna go with Sting, but I don't really care about this match. I agree with Chino here. I don't really care for this.
Okay, ako sinasabi ko lang sa madlang people na hindi namin inimpluwensyahan si Emile. Yung opinion niya, sariling opinion ni Emile na nagkataon lang na pareho din kay Chino at sa akin. Okay, moving on. Let's go to this next one. TBS Championship, Jade Cargill and Nyla Rose. I actually appreciate how, for the graphic of this match, nilagyan ng TBS champion na quotation marks si Nyla Rose because the story has been all about her stealing the championship belt from Jade Cargill. But other than that, we haven't really seen these two get physical. It's just them throwing shots at one another, nagbabangayan lang backstage. And medyo nagkukulang ako sa build-up for this one.
Yeah.
What do you think, Chino?
Yeah, this storyline is very poorly built. Walang, especially with two very physically dominant female athletes.
Yes.
You'd think na may sapakan kahit papano eh. Diba? So, that said though, I feel like Jade Cargill has been champion for way too long and hasn't done a lot with that title. So, I am going to pick Nyla Rose.
Wow.
Kasi she has been in purgatory, in female wrestler purgatory for far too long, and she's way too good to just stay there. So I'm picking Nyla Rose.
Wait, Nyla Rose is in purgatory, but she's on the Full Gear card. What about Ruby Soho or Athena or like any of the other women that they've signed?
Nyla Rose is a former AEW Women's Champion, diba? At the very least, kailangan nila bigyan ng teeth ulit si Nyla because she's been on dark, and she's been in awkward feuds. Ngayon na lang siya ulit nagkaroon ng main storyline feud. And I feel like if you make her the face of that TBS division, that mid-card division, mas magkakapangil siya eh.
Ikaw, Emile, what do you think? Is Nyla Rose the person to snap Jade's undefeated streak?
Honestly, she's like the strongest, I think, to put over Jade because honestly, Jade being champion for way too long is also TK's fault for not building up the women's division to have someone credible enough to beat Jade Cargill. So, but I think Nyla Rose is the person to beat Jade. But I wish Jade could just I don't know. I don't want to say lose, but I want her to move on to the women's championship scene because she has been stuck on this scene for way too long. And if there's someone, I think for me who could credibly beat Jade Cargill, it's Nyla Rose. I kind of have to agree here with Chino as well. So not that I hate Jade Cargill, but I think it's time for her to do other things. So give the title to Nyla and let her run with it to build the women's division back up to where it was when AEW started, at least. So.
All right, so unanimous tong dalawa for Nyla Rose, and everyone in the comments is actually picking Jade Cargill to win the TBS Championship match at Full Gear. Next on the card, Steel Cage match. This is a blood feud between Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy Jack Perry. So I like how, they actually went all in on calling him Jungle Boy Jack Perry now na sinimulan ni JR all those months ago. I wish that this feud had more teeth to it, but for some reason, I think it's the time between All Out and Full Gear. Parang medyo nawalan sila ng steam, and somehow I don't care about this story as much as I used to when it was Jungle Boy versus Christian. What do you think, Emile?
For me, this Luchasaurus is not the end game. It's Christian. So parang this is kind of like a side quest before you get to the final boss, which is Christian. So easy pick though. Jungle Boy will win this one because Luchasaurus he's just he's just a sidekick to Christian. And the main feud here is Jungle Boy Jack Perry versus Christian. Just so happens that Christian is injured and cannot wrestle. So, but as of this moment, you have to give Jack Perry the win because of what happened at All Out. He was he was taken out. So he needs to get his win back. So Jungle Boy, Jack Perry for the win for me.
Chino, would you put this match on pay-per-view or would you bump it down to like Dynamite or Rampage? Since sabi nga ni Emile, side quest lang si Luchasaurus.
Yeah, I would put it on like a very special edition of Dynamite or something. The problem with AEW is because it has like 500 wrestlers on its roster. Yung mga feud natatabunan talaga. So this is just one of those instances na nangyari yun. This feud, which started almost months back, had so much steam behind it. Diba parang kumampi tayo kay Jungle Boy and Christian came out with those very maniacal promos na nagbuha talaga siyang kupal and we were all behind that. And yes, it was a great feud, but nothing's happened since then. Nahirapan din tong feud na to, this rivalry, because Christian is injured and couldn't do as much. Diba? That's why they had to do this whole setup here. That said, tama si Emile, Jungle Boy needs to win because Luchasaurus is, if anything, a mini boss. You know, he's a side character. The true antagonist is Christian, and Jungle Boy, is the purest example of a babyface in this whole big company. So I want him to win.
All I want is for Luchasaurus to not turn face because that would be the nth turn for Luchasaurus in, however many months it's been since he kept flip-flopping. So, one more turn and Luchasaurus would be like a trapo here in the Philippines. Next match on the card is the World Championship Eliminator Tournament Final. So we know that it's Ethan Page from his side of the bracket and he'll be taking on one of these three men, Lance Archer, Ricky Starks, or Brian Cage. Sobrang up in the air nito. I don't even know how to pick someone for this one. So I'm going to leave it up to you guys. All we know is that whoever wins this World Title Eliminator Tournament will go on to Winter is Coming as the number one contender for the World Championship. So let's start with Chino here.
I want Brian Cage to win purely, kasi malaki siya and he's on fire right now. But also because we get to say Page versus Cage repeatedly. And if you try and say that fast 5 times, mabubulol ka. So that alone is enough reason for me to cheer for Brian Cage.
Parang merong championship scramble, no? And then they put all of the Page and Cage guys in it. Kasi 5 lang yun di ba? Ethan Page, Hangman Page, Brian Cage, Christian Cage, Paige Van Zandt. Jeez. Ikaw, Emile, who's your pick?
All right, so this pick, for me, it would really depend on who's going to win the main event. Because you have to think of the babyface heel alignment here. We're just sticking purely with this bracket. I am rooting for Ricky Starks because it's time. It's time to give this man the push he deserves. And maybe he will not win the title immediately, but just do something with him. He was hot before the breakup of the Team Taz. He was so over with the crowd, and then they did the turn. And he was jobbed out for like 5 minutes and all out. And then, voila. He wasn't on the TV shows after that. So give him the push he deserves. So I'm going with Ricky Starks here.
All right. Julian, my brother in Christ. Talo na po si Eddie Kingston. Si Ethan Page na yung nag-advance from his side of the bracket. So it's really just Ethan Page, Archer, Starks, or Brian Cage for this one. All right, let's move on to the next match. It's the 4-way for the ROH World Championship. Chris Jericho on his rampage, no pun intended, against the former ROH champions regardless of rank. So ang kalaban niya, 2 former champions in Bryan Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli. And he's also got Sammy Guevara in there for assistance. Na sinasabi ni Jericho, if it's him and Sammy daw would do the right thing. Here's a question for you guys. Do you feel like this feud between the Blackpool Combat Club and the JAS has gone too long? Because I looked back and they've been at each other for more than half a year at this point. Ikaw, Emile, what do you think?
I am so sick of this feud. Just let this feud end already. If we're tracking back, they've been feuding since, March or January this year.
Yeah, probably March or April, right? When the BCC got formed.
Magtatapos na yung 2022, hindi pa rin natatapos itong...
Nanalo na si Marcos at lahat-lahat. Nag-aaway pa rin sila.
just if any other circumstances, this match I would be excited for this match because you got Bryan Danielson, you got Chris Jericho, you got Claudio Castagnoli, you got Sammy Guevara. But because of this feud has been so long that I'm not as hyped as I wish I could be. So just let this feud end. Just maybe I don't know. Maybe Jericho could retain the title. Maybe he's the guy going to final battle. He's gonna be the champion. So I'm going to Chris Jericho. But my one wish for this match is just let this end. Let this, please, for the love of God, just let this feud end already.
Ikaw, Chino, sawa ka na ba sa BCC versus JAS na dynamic?
Oh, 100%. Both sides have very talented wrestlers that could be doing a lot more with the depth the AEW has. Instead, they've straddled them to each other. And it's just lazy storytelling at this point. Ilang beses na sila nagka-match na, this is the final time we will face each other. Or this is the definitive match to end the feud. But no, they're still at it after 6-7 months now. So parang it's not a good use of talent for me. As for my pick, I'm going to say Jericho as well. I'm not picking Danielson and Claudio for the simple reason that if either of them win, hahaba lang yung feud ng BCC and the Jericho Appreciation Society, right? And we don't want that, clearly. So Jericho might win. Sammy makes a good case kasi he's been on a roll as of late. So pwede din siya, but my guess is Jericho.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like Jericho has anything better to do now that he's been eliminated from the Masked Singer, so...
That's true.
Sticking with the championship matches, let's talk about the Acclaimed versus Swerve in Our Glory. Congratulations to Max Caster and Anthony Bowens for the drop of their new music video. That was pretty fun kanina. What do you think about this one? It's the third and final match. Ito rin, another one, but I'd like to think this feud has a bit more steam kasi a grown man got abducted during this storyline. Emile, what do you think?
This is one of the matches that I'm really also looking forward to, because of what happened at All Out. It basically stole the show, and that Dynamite Grandstand. So it's been a while. It's been solid 2 months since their last match. So it isn't like BCC and JAS.
No, they faced each other at Arthur Ashe, which was like 5-6 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 months ago. That's what I said. Ganun din. It's been like there was a gap between, so it was good. So this matchup feels fresh again, and again with the kid like Swerve Strickland, kidnapping Billy Gunn, which is really really funny. But I feel like the Swerve in Our Glory tag team has run its course, and it's time for them to wake up and be single stars. So I'm going with the Acclaimed here.
Ooh, so that's a twofer. The Acclaimed retain and Swerve in Our Glory break up. What do you think, Chino?
I think the Acclaimed retain. Yes, tama. Again, Emile and I, we are on sync, man. Because I'm also thinking the Swerve in Our Glory breakup. Kasi pinag-usapan na natin to weeks ago. Right? They're teasing this as another mid-card feud along their endless mid-card feuds that they have. I like how AEW is giving the rub to two relatively unknown guys na hindi naman indie darlings. But they're purely AEW talent, and if they're really serious about the Acclaimed project, they're going to keep the titles on them because they're really just getting started with the scissoring business.
All right. Moving on to this next one. Ito, I'm sure you guys are excited to talk about Dr. Britt Baker, DMD versus Saraya. Kind of like the Jade Cargill and Nyla Rose feud. A lot of bangayan here, pero this has been more physical. Their promo exchange from this week was purely backstage, and the thing that stood out to me was how Dr. Britt Baker cut a seemingly babyface promo, which is weird considering how siya yung gatekeeper of the division in the worst way. Na parang sinasabi na, di ka taga rito, tagalabas ka, Saraya, you're a superstar. And then now she's like, where have you been? I've been performing in Daly's Place nung COVID lockdowns, blah, blah, blah. I mean, yung kalaban was injured. What did you want her to do, woman? So it's kind of weird promo from Britt Baker. That said, it is Saraya's first match since December of 2017. So I think it's not unreasonable if we all picked Saraya. What do you think, Chino?
Yeah, definitely. She needs to win because she's this hot new signee that they have that they've built up so well against literally the face of the division in Britt Baker DMD here. So I feel like by Saraya winning winning against Britt Baker, rather, it makes a good case for the fact that she's this crossover talent that we've been touting her to be.
Mm-hmm. Ikaw, Emile.
Again, Saraya needs to win because this is her first match in how many years? 5 years or 6 years. So I'm gonna go with Saraya here for the win, just for that fact. And again, I just wish she could get through this match safe and sound because her issues were the neck, and that's what like ended her career before her return. So I just wish she could go through this match without a hitch, and I just hope she has a good showing because she was one of the pioneers of the renaissance of women's wrestling that dated back almost 10 years ago. So if she has a good showing here, it'll be good for me. So Saraya with the win.
Eto sabihin ko lang kasi si Leo also said, Saraya, be extra careful. Sabi rin ni Ina, now AEW will be tested when it comes to Saraya's safety. Guys, I don't think na, hopefully it doesn't happen. I'm knocking on wood here, but let's say an injury does happen. I don't think it's necessarily a mark against the company because injuries happen all the time. Whether you're at the biggest levels of the sport, like WWE, like AEW, New Japan, what have you, or in the lower levels of the sports, mga indie scenes, injuries happen. So I wouldn't want to go out there and say na, ito na yung test kung talagang safe ba yung mga taga AEW. I don't want to say that kasi that also discredits the professionalism and the experience that all of these wrestlers have had to get to this point where they are TV and pay-per-view ready. So, yun lang. I'm sure Ro would probably say something similar being that he's actually in the business as a worker. So, yun lang. I just wanted to make that clear for everybody before we say something na would rub people the wrong way. We're down to our last two matches sa predictions ng Full Gear. So, let's talk about the interim Women's World Championship match. And that's between Toni Storm and Jamie Hayter. So, wala pa ring balita on Thunder Rosa. No idea if and when she's coming back. I am just so tired of hearing commentators say every AEW show, these two were roommates during the pandemic. Like, I got it the first time. Alam mo, parang bingi na sinisigawan pa ulit-ulit, di ba? Like, okay, sige, they were roommates during the pandemic. Then what? Like, how did Jamie Hayter supposedly turn her back on Toni Storm? Like, we never got this part. So, doon ako nagkukulang eh. Ikaw, Chino, you seem to be having fun with this criticism.
Yeah. Nanahan ni Jamie Hayter si Toni Storm sa band mo. Tapos na-jebs na si Toni Storm. So she had to move it. And that right there, that is what pisses people off. You really need to go, but you can't because you have a selfish root. I don't know. I don't know why this is how the started. Roommate sila. Really, that's the best they can come up with. The crack team at AEW decided, roommate sila dati. Sapakan na kayo ngayon. Like, I don't know. That said, I really like Jamie Hayter. I think she is an amazing talent. However, I do not think she is walking away with this title just yet. I think they're really going to keep it on Toni Storm because they really want the Toni Storm Thunder Rosa match to happen. So I think Toni Storm still retains.
Ikaw, Emile.
Yeah, as much as I'm a big Jamie Hayter fan, Toni Storm will walk away as champion just because I think Jamie Hayter still has a feud to go against Britt Baker when she turns on Britt Baker. So there's another story for her to get to before finally being like a main event level star in the women's division. So, but this is a huge opportunity for her finally be in pay-per-view challenging for the women's championship, and this is going to be a good match. I'm looking forward to it being a really good match. But again, saying Toni Storm still, she's going to walk away as champion by the end of Full Gear.
Yeah, we are not haters of Jamie Hater on this podcast. So excited for her actually to be in a singles match on pay-per-view. Kasi the last time, it was a four-way, diba? With Britt Baker and Hikaru Shida also being involved. All right, boys. Main event time. John Moxley, MJF. Call your shot. Let's start with you, Chino.
I'm going to say MJF.
Mm-hmm.
Think it's MJF's time. I think Moxley really, really wants and needs a break. And I think MJF has been putting out killer performances his entire AEW run. I think it's time he needs to be rewarded for all the effort that he puts in. Otherwise, we're going to see him walk. That's just about it. So I'm picking MJF.
Teka, before I throw it back to Emile, Chino, bonus prediction. Is MJF's face shenanigans with the firm a red herring or is he actually sort of a good guy now?
You know, as of the most recent Dynamite, when he saved John Moxley, feeling ko hindi na siya swerve. Diba? We are not being worked here. I really think they're trying to angle him as sort of a baby face here. The reason I think that is because old MJF is an opportunist, diba? He's very conniving in that way. So hindi niya bibigyan si Moxley ng ganong klaseng advantage. Now that said, kung work pa rin to at ganon siya committed to making us believe na face siya, then good job. He deserves the title even more.
So you guys are calling her a tweener. Man, it must be exhausting always rooting for the anti-hero. So yun pala si MJF. Ikaw, Emile, do you think that MJF has fully shed the firm, that he's really not working with them? And who do you think is walking away the world champion?
You know, I've been burned by this before with Daniel Garcia. I thought Daniel Garcia was turning into a face. He was going to be on it as his own man. And then TK pulled the trigger, bringing him back with the JAS. So I'm not really trusting TK here to pull the face turn on MJF. All this time, from the build-up of this match, I was calling that all this is a red herring. The firm, because here's the thing, the firm helped MJF to win the title shot. So why is MJF suddenly, turning the firm away? It's weird. It's weird for me. Yeah, again, all this is a red herring for me. It's too obvious. And if it's not, then good. But if it's work and it's all a red herring, then it's predictable for me. I called it a long time ago. So, I think all of us consensusly, MJF is going to win this match. It's just a question of how he's going to win this match, or if he's going to be a babyface or a full-blown heel after the match. So, it's MJF to win, and I still think he's still going to be a heel after this match.
Yeah, last year's Full Gear, yun yung coronation moment ni Hangman Adam Page. And from how you guys are voicing your support for MJF, it looks like Full Gear 2022 might be MJF's crowning moment. So that should be incredibly interesting heading into this weekend. Kayo, in the comments, let us know what you think. Who are you calling to be the AEW World Champion? Who do you think the winners will be at the end of AEW Full Gear? We're almost approaching the top of the hour, pero meron pa tayong WWE talk. That's coming up after the break as we hear from our other kapodcasts on Podcast Network Asia. No Chino on the audio-only part of this week's podcast because he's got some prior commitments. So it's going to be Emile and myself breaking down these last three items. And we're going to start with something from SmackDown. The Usos defeated the New Day to retain their tag team championships. And now they've got the longest tag team championship reign in the WWE. So I talked about this on the live stream as my pick of the week. And I really enjoyed the match. And, this is one of those things where I guess either way it does work in the sense na, okay, the Usos retained. I guess they really want to keep the bloodline infallible pa rin until a huge loss happens on a bigger platform. Like, I don't know, WarGames probably kasi, there's someone else who could take the fall on behalf of the bloodline sa WarGames. So I guess SmackDown this past weekend just wasn't the time yet for Jimmy and Jay to lose the tag team championships.
Yeah, so Usos retained the titles in a really good match against the New Day. And I really like these types of matches where it would be a record breaker. Like if they win, they get to break the record for the longest reign, because I also remember when the New Day were in the same situation like 6 years ago. I remember their match against I think it was Sheamus and Cesaro at the pay per view. It was really good, and the premise of that match is the New Day is doing everything that they can to extend their title reign. Same thing here with the Usos. They basically did everything, and there's also this magic between the Usos and the New Day. It's like they're kind of the modern day version of Edge and Christian versus Hardy Boys, in which every match is just magic. And same thing here. And they added element of that record because New Day was previously had the record for the longest reign of the tag team titles in WWE, and the Usos had to beat them to break the record and extend their title reign. So there was a good story going into that match, and they delivered. Just like every time they have a match, they go into the ring, they have this magic, and it was a really good match on SmackDown.
Yeah, tama yung sinabi mo na there's a sense of desperation from the Usos as they tried everything in their power to really retain against the New Day. And I loved how personal it felt for the New Day because it was their record and everything they stood for, and then everything that they said during that promo on Raw. Na they weren't even supposed to be there. They didn't have the generational into the business unlike the Usos did. So it really came together very well. And I was pretty happy that we were able to get that moment on SmackDown. And, the creative was lined up in such a way that the New Day talaga was the last set of challengers on the way to breaking that record for the Usos.
Yeah.
Now, sorry, did you have any other thoughts?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. Like, there was a point last year or 2 years where in which parang naumay na ako with the Usos against the New Day, because we kind of saw it also a lot last year when the Usos were already part of the bloodline. But there was a sense again, there was a narrative behind it that the people caught on and were really excited about this match. And they delivered on all those expectations, because this isn't really a fresh rivalry. We have seen this so many times as well before, but parang nagkabuhay bigla yung rivalry nila because of the narrative surrounding this match. Kudos to them for delivering on such a huge stage for this match.
Speaking of a big stage, NXT is having NXT Deadline towards the end of the year to be the last premium live event for WWE for 2022. And Shawn Michaels announced yung Iron Survivor Challenge, which is a new type of match which will have both a men's version and a women's version. So it'll be 25 minutes long, and there will be 5 participants battling each other and the clock. So I'm just reading out your rules as HBK explained it on NXT this week. So 2 wrestlers will start the match, and every 5 minutes may bagong papasok until all 5 are in the ring. And whoever has the most falls, which are earned by pinfall, submission, or disqualification, pag umabot ng 25 minutes, sila yung panalo. A fall counts for 1 point, but losing a fall means you go into a penalty box for 90 seconds. So, dehado ka dun kasi other people could be scoring pinfalls while you're in the penalty box throughout those 90 seconds. What's up for grabs is a shot at the NXT Championship and the NXT Women's Championship for the winners. So what do you think about this format? Kasi people on the internet have been saying things like, oh, it's a combination of the Championship Scramble and an Iron Man match and TNA's King of the Mountain.
Yeah, I kind of agree with the sentiments online. This is kind of a mix of this is the modern day championship scramble, with the elements of the King of the Mountains being mixed in. And I am all up for fresh ideas, and this is a fresh idea from old concepts. So it's a good thing. I'm really looking forward to this. And di ba, it's time, like every 5 minutes a new wrestler comes in?
Yes.
So the question I have for this is, how do you last person to enter? He will only have how many minutes to score as much Let's say if the first guy scored this many pinfalls, so parang lugi na yung last person to enter.
Yung trade-off mo is you're fresh. Because the other people will have had the last 10 minutes to beat each other up and get injured or whatever.
Okay, maybe that's the thing. But that's the question that arose when I heard this concept is yung last person to enter. The disadvantage that they will have is the time, but also they are going to be fresh coming into the match. Unlike the Royal Rumble, that wala namang time limit yung Royal Rumble. If you're the last man, you have the advantage of being fresh, and you get to you get to be the freshest man in the competition. So yun lang. But again, this is a fresh new idea from NXT, and I think may sense na kung bakit yung pangalan ng event is called Deadline, because it's a time. The match is a timed event, so looking forward to the execution of how they will do this match come NXT Deadline.
I want my guy Grayson Waller to win this because he's a former Survivor contestant. He was on Australian Survivor. He tweeted about it right as HBK made the announcement. And I really loved yung Championship Scramble. I wasn't watching wrestling when the Championship Scramble became a thing, but I loved playing it in the video games. And I figured that if I enjoyed it in the video game, I'll probably enjoy it in real life. So I'm excited to see the Championship Scramble be back in the year of our Lord 2022. And just to piggyback off that point you made about advantages and disadvantages, Emile, I actually like the Iron Survivor Challenge more than the Royal Rumble in the sense na may trade-off yung positioning mo. Because you said this a Royal Rumble, kung huli ka, wala lang, pure advantage lang yun. It doesn't matter how many people are left by the time number 30 enters. Pero dito, kung ikaw yung nagsimula, edi good, you have more time to score falls, pero at the risk of stamina and fatigue and possibly injury. Whereas if you're the last person, you come in fresh, but at the cost of time to actually score your falls.
Yun, so yun yung exciting dito sa match na to. Like how's that gonna come into play? The positioning, and because this is new, we haven't seen this match before. So
yeah, bagong-bago to.
Bagong-bago. So it's gonna be fresh. I'm looking forward to it. And as a sports fan, I really love the time element in wrestling because we really don't have anything close to this. So as a sports
except for
fan,
the Iron Man match.
So as a sports fan, I'm really looking forward to yung mga clutch moments like in basketball.
Yeah, or yung beat the clock challenge, diba?
Yeah.
Yun lang eh. Yun yung mga clutch na moments and matches in wrestling. I mean, this will be the first time it's happening, so I don't expect them to have like vignettes where people switch up numbers, kind of like yung Royal Rumble in the 2000s. But I kind of want that to be part of the storytelling going forward. Now, once people figure out what the Iron Survivor Challenge narrative techniques are, now they'll have these vignettes where, yun nga, may strategy, diba? Like your positioning matters talaga in a match like this.
Yeah.
So will people try to angle for a later spot or for an earlier spot, depending on what type of wrestler they are, what their characters are? My mind's just starting to think of all these things, all these ways that I'd want to like add promos and vignettes to the Iron Survivor Challenge. So it's a very exciting concept, and I totally agree. It's so refreshing to see this one on NXT this year.
Yeah, so who knows? Maybe this concept can be brought to the main roster soon enough. So
baka, yeah. I mean, WarGames made its way to the main roster. So baka ito, mag-graduate din to the main roster balang araw.
Yeah, so
all right, our last topic for the audio-only part is from the NWA, because there's a new World's Heavyweight Champion. Tyrus, FKA Brodus Clay, back when he was in WWE, has won the 10 pounds of gold. So people online aren't exactly happy for a couple of reasons. I'm going to let Emile give his opinion later on, but let me outline some of them. One being that the NWA doesn't exactly have the best reputation right now, given the behind-the-scenes issues with Nick Aldis and Mickey James. So that's one. Second, see, Tyrus is actually a wrestler who was called out for sexual misconduct based on yung nangyari between him and one of his co-workers over at Fox News. Third is there is a vocal section of the community na parang, Tyrus, his political stance, which you can infer based on him working with Fox News in the US, not great. So, ikaw, Emile, bilang wrestling fan, what do you think about this development coming from the NWA?
Yeah, the NWA is on a tough stage right now. Not like I think the pandemic really hit NWA, in worse than WWE, AEW, all the other promotions, and it's not really a good look to them that someone who's as much as I don't want politics to come into play, but he appears on Fox News. I've seen him on Fox News and saying all kinds of things that I don't really agree with, and most people doesn't really agree with. So there's a part of that, and also even just looking at him as a wrestler, is it really someone you want to represent your brand? Like I've seen him in WWE, he doesn't really do much. Even like today, he doesn't really do much. So the NWA World Heavyweight Championship has always represented like the Ric Flairs of the world, the Nick Aldis, yeah, even Cody Rhodes won the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. So it represents like the best worker you have in your territory. So you're telling me that Tyrus is the best wrestler you have right now in your company. So it's not a good look on the NWA side of things. Also not a good look on Tyrus that he's on the spotlight and he really can't deliver on a night-to-night basis in terms of being good in the ring. So that's my feelings about it. Like both as a wrestler, I don't really like Tyrus, and also as a human being. So it's a lose-lose situation for me. So
Very strong feelings from Emile regarding Tyrus winning the 10 pounds of gold. Ako, not so much. I mean, I know about how problematic Tyrus could probably be based on the news that's come out about him over the last few years. So when I saw this happen, I was like, oh, so this happened. Yun na lang.
yeah, I was I really felt bad more for the promotion rather than Tyrus. Like it really says
I
something.
mean, why would you feel bad about Tyrus? He won the championship.
No, but no, my feelings like parang mas like yung feelings ko is mas naawa ako sa NWA rather than happy that Tyrus won the championship because it tells something about the promotion. It's not in the best of place right now. So yeah, that's all I can say.
All right. So those are our takes on the biggest pieces of news from wrestling this week. Let us know what you think at Wrestling2XPod on TikTok or on Twitter. It is @_Stancy for me, @RoseWar, @Chino Supersize, and @Monday Night Rowan for the hosts. And for Emile, it's @EML_Meister. Meron tayong audio-only version of this episode going up on Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts. In that version, we'll have a section where we talk about the Usos breaking the New Day's record for the longest tag team championship reign. We'll also break down Shawn Michaels' announcement for the Iron Survivor Challenge at NXT Deadline. And we're also going to spend some time to probably talk about Tyrus winning the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. But before we get there, some WWE stuff we got to cover on this week's live stream. So let's start off with this one. We're heading towards Survivor Series WarGames next week, and it looks like it'll be the Bloodline on the men's side taking on the Brawling Brutes plus Drew McIntyre plus fifth babyface na TBA. And there were some rumors going around that it might be Kevin Owens. Now, it should have been Kevin Owens, but it was reported over the weekend that he suffered an injury at a live event, which might keep him out of WarGames. So, given all of this information and rumors and innuendo, who do you think the fifth man will be? Because we're assuming na it's Roman, it's Solo, the Usos, and Sami Zayn for the Bloodline. So, dapat 5-on-5. So, Emile, who do you think the fifth babyface will be if it can't be KO?
If it can't be KO, I'm thinking it should be Matt Riddle because he has history against Roman because of the match they had a while back. So he has some history with the Bloodline, also against the Usos when the RK Bro was still a thing and they were like competing for the tag team championships. So it also makes sense for Riddle to be. Plus, he also has history with his own teammates. He was teammates with Butch with the Bruiserweights. So it kind of makes sense, no? If it's Riddle, if it's not KO, then it should be Matt Riddle to be the fifth man against the Bloodline.
Ikaw, Chino, who do you think the fifth babyface will be?
I'm going to say Riddle as well. It makes sense for him to be the fifth. Ang pinaka-perfect sana si Kevin Owens because remember how a few months back they were sowing seeds of discord in Sami Zayn's head, right? So sana siya, but it's not going to push through. Matt Riddle makes the strongest case. I don't know who else I would put in that matchup that would make sense. Sino ba yung walang ginagawa? Maybe Brock? Brock in the WarGames match?
No, I think Brock and Lashley are still going to go at it at WarGames.
So, Riddle just makes sense. Diba? I remember a few WarGames ago where Kevin Owens came out with that pop. Sana si Riddle gets that same pop as well.
Yeah, that was when si KO yung rest back ni na Tommaso Ciampa at WarGames.
Right.
Yeah. All right, next up, let's talk about the women's WarGames match. So more people have entered the fray, and now we have the women's heel team completed with Damage Control, Nikki Cross, and Rhea Ripley. And then now the question is, who is going to complete Team EST? Name unofficial, by the way. I just put that there kasi maikse. So, sinong re-resback dito? Because there's rumors na it might be Candice LeRae, it should be Candice LeRae. Some people are speculating na baka injured raw, kaya hindi pa ina-announce. So, what do you think, Emile?
So I have three guesses. First one is Candice LeRae. Second one, because there was news that came out that WWE is interested in bringing this name back. And it makes sense for her to be also here because she has history against Dakota Kai and Rhea Ripley. So the name is Tegan Knox. Surprise. Maybe a surprise entrant here, Tegan Knox, because it also makes sense and it would make for a great pop. And then third one, because of what happened at Extreme Rules and because Rhea Ripley is also here, there's also a possibility that Beth Phoenix could be the fifth member of Team EST. So those are the three names that I'll be picking to be the fifth member of Team EST come Survivor Series.
Ikaw, Chino, before you give your pick for the fifth member ng team ni Bianca, what did you think about Rhea Ripley suddenly being slotted in here along with Damage Control after everything she's done with the Judgment Day to date?
It makes sense kasi nandun si Mia Yim. Di ba na unang i-announce si Mia Yim for that side? Yeah. Right? Damage Control was trying to recruit her to their side. Sabi ni Mia, no, sides with the faces as one would predict. So it makes sense na si Rhea yung habala because Mia Yim was supposed to be Rhea Ripley's counterpoint and that little feud they had going here. Sayang na we don't get that sick ass intergender match that people want so badly. But I see it making sense at this juncture. As for my pick, may maganda yung choices ni Emile. I still want to put a wild card in there. So Tegan Knox makes sense. I'm gonna say Charlotte might actually make sense as well because again, matagal na siyang wala, more than 6 months now. But she's been just posting pictures now, so baka pwede na siya. I don't know how much sense it might make for her to debut, re-debut rather in a WarGames match. Yun siya. I want to see Charlotte Flair back.
All right. Okay, in the comment section, let us know who you think the fifth team member for Team EST is going to be as we get to our final topic for the live stream, and that is about Ate Shotzi becoming the number one contender at Survivor Series WarGames. Eto nagulat ako because the six-pack challenge happened on SmackDown and I was fully expecting Raquel Rodriguez to win here. And then all of a sudden, Shotzi comes in and wins the damn match. Great, because I'm super excited to call this one in Tagalog and really just going shit over Shotzi.
Hell yeah.
But, sobrang surprising. I just gotta say that, to use a term from our Survivor fandom, Chino, it was a blindside.
Hell yeah, it was definitely a blindside. They didn't see this coming at all. So I'm happy for Shotzi because she's the first Filipina to compete in a women's title match in the WWE. So congrats to her and congrats to us for being Filipino. Diba? I don't know.
I mean, nilalas lang tayo sa genetic and geographical lottery na dito tayo pinanganak. But yay, we have a representative at WarGames.
Yeah, representation. Anyway, that said, guys, let's be realistic. This is Ronda Rousey we're talking about. This is early in her title reign here. So this might not go as highly as we expect it to be. It might be a squash. We don't know. But Ronda's retains.
All right, we're not yet doing WarGames predictions. Next week pa yun. But ikaw, Emile, what do you think about Shotzi being the number one contender? Did you watch that six-pack challenge and were you surprised with this outcome?
Yeah, but I was very surprised because I thought it was going to be Raquel Gonzalez. But yeah, this is a very welcome surprise. Finally, she's getting a chance to compete for the Women's Championship. Not that I'm expecting her to win, but still great. And we have a Pinoy representative at Survivor Series. This is a good thing. I'm also expecting to have a good match here with Ronda Rousey. So this is going to be a Pinoy pride. Pinoy pride. Woohoo!
Yeah, second straight Survivor Series na merong Pinay on the card. Shotzi was also there last year, diba? When we called the very first event in Tagalog, I actually already called her Ate Shotzi, George. So alam natin na si George hindi pala nanonood with Tagalog audio. Huli tayo dyan. All right, down to the last part of the podcast. So let's get to our picks of the week. Again, yung audio only, meron pa tayong additional topics there. But I'm going to mention Ro's pick of the week since he's in the comment section. He picks Timothy Thatcher versus Kaito Kiyomiya from Noah Global Day 2. As for me, my pick of the week, New Day versus the Usos over on SmackDown. Really great match. I thought that there were so many chances for the New Day to win and snap the Usos streak and become tag team champions once again, but that didn't happen. And it was a heartbreaker for, so many good reasons. So it was a great match, great ride. Let's start with Emile Muna since you are the guest. What's your pick?
Right, so my pick of the week is Austin Theory versus Dolph Ziggler from this week's Raw, because finally, Austin finally snapped and he got rid of what he was before, the failed Money in the Bank cash-in, and it looks like we're going to get a new and much more intense Austin Theory. So that's my pick of the week. Good match and good post-match beatdown from Theory.
All right, Chino, your pick.
My pick goes out to the last women standing match on NXT. It is Mandy Rose versus Alba Fire for the NXT Women's Championship. Want to call particular attention to the finish of that match where Alba Fire was screwed over by a debuting Isla Dawn. It's ironic because Alba Fire also screwed over Hyper Niven with the help of si Ginny,
yes.
Right? Was it Ginny?
Yes, on NXT UK.
NXT UK on a very same last woman standing match. So ang galing. If you're like a deep wrestling nerd like all three of us are, ma-appreciate mo yung irony nitong situation na to. And it wasn't a half bad match. So I like it. I like that match.
All right, let's get to the picks of the week. Sa comment section, Julian picks Grayson Waller getting drenched by the sea lion. That was very satisfying. Janelle picks Apollo Crews versus JD McDonough. Glendale picks Theory versus Dolph Ziggler. Roman J, pareho kami ng pick of the week. Ina picks the Darby Allin and Sting promo from Dynamite. I'm glad that at least one person appreciates that. I think Darby would be happy to hear that. Leo picks the Captain Insano cameo. Yes, Paul White being really, really hilarious in that acclaimed music video. Bruce picks Theory versus Dolph. Admin Angelo picks from Impact Jordan Grace versus Giselle Shaw, who's also Pinay. That's right. Sino pa ba? Fred picks Finn versus Seth. That was a really fun match on Raw. Actually, itong Raw this week was really grade A. Lots of good in-ring action and the right mix of promo work. Ano pa ba? Ina, dumadami picks natin Tigi-tigisang pick lang tayo guys sa pick of the week. Wala tayong Kumu ngayon, so apologies to everyone who was expecting a Kumu live stream. We'll try to be back on there next week. I think Ro will be back. So as we wind down here, let's get to some plugs and let's start with Emile. Is there anything you want to let the listeners know about?
Alright, just follow me on Twitter at EML_Meister and on TikTok as well, same handle. On TikTok, I just post like sports opinions, wrestling opinions. So, yeah.
May tumatawag din ba sa yung Discord mod doon?
Pinapaban ka ba nila sa TikTok, Emile?
No. They don't.
Okay. So hindi ka nananakit doon. Hindi tulad ni Chino.
No. You make it sound like a John Amore style. Come on.
Okay, Chino, let's get to your plugs.
Hey, I mentioned that particular instance kasi I am doing something very important for the week. I am on a new, I don't have a new episode of Class Down. However, I want you guys to listen to the latest episode of the Semi-Safe Space podcast. It is featuring 3 of the newer comedians in the scene and myself, where we talk about cancel culture and being canceled and cyberbullying, something that I have fair experience with because of recent events. So, natin pag-usapan. It's triggering. Also, because of that, I am doing this show called the Comedy Pest Control Show. Okay? Lahat ng offensive material na gusto nyong marinig sa live, maririnig nyo dito sa show na to. I don't even know what I'm doing here. Apparently, I'm that offensive now.
Oh, nabag ka sa TikTok
No, apparently, ganong level na pala ako. So, November 19 in Metro Walk, our old stomping grounds. Tickets at $6.50. tickettome.net for your tickets. That's this Saturday, November 19th. And for everything else that I'm up to, linktr.ee/Chino Supersize.
All right, thank you very much, Chino. As for me, I'm giving away tickets to We Will Rock You the Musical tomorrow on my radio show first thing in the morning on 99.5 Play FM. So makinig kayo bukas if you want free tickets sa sa Samsung Performing Arts Theater at Circuit
Yeah,
Makati.
I saw it. Good show.
Yeah, so the show's also tomorrow night. So kung wala kayong plans on a Friday night and you want to win these tickets, let me help you out. Let me hook you up with these tickets. Sali lang kayo sa contest ko bukas on first thing in the morning. Shows at 7 a.m. tomorrow on 99.5 Play FM. On that note, we gotta say thank you to everybody who joined us on the stream. Maraming salamat sa pakikinig, sa pagsubaybay, for interacting with us. Thank you very much to our boy, Emile Nate. Thank you for joining us on the live stream, bud.
Hey, you're welcome. And always a pleasure to be here on the Wrestling Podcast.
Thank you very much to Babyface producer Mike and everyone at PNA who does all that work behind the scenes. Huwag kalimutan na hindi pa lahat ng WWE content na ma-migrate sa Disney Plus, so huwag mag-unsubscribe from the network ng The Oras. We'll catch you next week for a special audio-only episode on the 10th anniversary of The Shield. And on next week's live streams, we're going to be predicting Survivor Series WarGames, or as Lord William Regal likes to say it, WarGames! So that's happening on next week's live stream. Keep your masks on if you want and get your vaccines and boosters if and when you can. For Emile Nate and Chino Liao, my name is Stan C. Wrestling Podcast out. Bye-bye.
The views and opinions expressed by the podcast creators, hosts, and guests do not necessarily reflect the official policy and position of Podcast Network Asia, the hosts of the program, or other programs of the network. Any content provided by the people on the podcast are of their own opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.